Some people set up feeders to attract animals. We can never really anticipate what we will see in trail cam footage, though. There are many mysterious and weird videos among them. Some are even unexplainable. So in this video, we are going to show you trail cam captures what no one was supposed to see part 13. The video is going to be amazing, so make sure you stick to the end. Trail ghosts. What was this ghost girl doing in the woods? And what does she want? The fact the ghost was a little girl is all the more creepy. Legend has it that a girl of her age was killed on this train track not too far from where this footage was taken. Perhaps her spirit still roams the woods to this day. However, as we mentioned earlier, there are often less exciting explanations behind these strange phenomena. Ski resort owner Chick Wilson came forward and explained that the creepy little girl in the footage is simply his grandfather. Wilson told CNN it would be wonderful to have proof of life after death, but unfortunately, we're not going to get any particular proof from this photograph. Sometimes the least exciting explanation is the right one. White deer. Our next footage involves deer, but in less gruesome circumstances. As before, this trail cam has discovered the beautiful cynical white deer. These deer are extremely rare and mainly found in Seneca County, New York. Apparently, these deer carry a recessive gene, which results in them having all white coats. Their lack of skin pigmentation results in them lacking the more familiar brown coats that other deer have. In this trail cam, we see the deer wandering through the woods. We can also see that they look exactly like regular deer, except for the striking white color. Sadly, these deer are endangered and live within the Seneca Army Depot. This type of deer is incredibly rare. Their bright white coats make them incredibly visible to predators like coyotes, and they live in isolated areas together. So inbreeding is also a big problem. Trail alien. The video comes from a Spanish-speaking YouTube channel, and the description of the video translates as a witch is found crying on a strange road. What do you think? As the movie goes on, you can see what looks like a witch from a horror movie or even an extraterrestrial. The video could also be a fake, in fact. That's pretty much the consensus in the comment section. One comment in Spanish translates to saying faker than Santa Claus bringing gifts for politicians. Another commenter speculates about where the image of the witch may have come from. Before we move on, support us by hitting subscribe and the bell icon to get notified when we post new videos. Now let's get back to our topic. Big cat finds snake eggs. A huge snake is causing havoc in the Florida Everglades. They're an invasive species, which is when an animal enters a habitat that's not normally found in and destroys it, attacks all of the animals currently living there, and destroys the ecosystem. So how did a python, which is Burmese, which means it's from Burma or Myanmar, end up on the other side of the planet in Florida? Well, in 1992, Hurricane Andrew hit Florida and devastated the region. The hurricane even hit a python breeding facility and the snakes escaped. These reptiles eventually made it to the Florida Everglades and made it their home. This meant that the other animals who had been happily living in the Everglades were now living among a devastating predator. In this footage, we can see a bobcat roaming the Big Cypress National Preserve in Florida and coming across some snake eggs. The cat and snake even squared up to one another, and the bobcat decided to even put up a fight. He soon took the wiser decision and left. Later on, the bobcat returned and found the nest unguarded. He swiped an egg and carried it in his mouth. Biologists looked at the eggs soon after and found that they had been destroyed. It looks like the bobcat might be able to alter the python's tyrannical reign of the Florida Everglades. And if not, the South Florida Water Management District will also reward anyone with $150 to catch one of those. Would you go hunting for these things for $150? Fairy or moth. Our next footage displays either a fairy or an incredibly strange moth. This strange creature was captured on a doorbell camera in England. Alicia was away at the time and visiting relatives when the security system on her phone alerted her that something was up. My first thought was, oh my god, it's a fairy, she said. They then tried to find a moth or a similar creature, which looked like the creature outside their home but couldn't find anything that matched. Her family was convinced it was a fairy, and coincidentally, one of her sons had lost a tooth when the fairy arrived, prompting that it may be the tooth fairy. While this explanation is highly unlikely, Alicia said, we all need a little magic and faith in our lives. Beavers devour trees. As we all know, beavers build dams. But have you ever thought about how they get the tree logs and branches for their dams? In this amazing footage, we can see how beavers gradually gnaw down a tree, and you can see the trunk of the tree eventually getting thinner and thinner, but doesn't always take this long. A beaver can even fall an 8-foot tree in less than 5 minutes. Once the tree has fallen, they'll use it to build the dam. Hank the Tank. Believe it or not, most bears will distance themselves from humans, and it's only when they feel threatened that they attack. But Hank the Tank seems to have no fear of humans. While he doesn't think of humans as food, he does associate humans with access to food. In the footage, we can see this black bear walking straight into someone's house. He sometimes gets in through the back door and sometimes even squeezes in through a window after smashing it. Peter Terra, the spokesperson for the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, told the BBC, "When you have a bear forcibly crashing its way through a garage door or ripping open a front door with people inside, that's pretty brazen and unusual." Police were regularly called about bear break-ins in their home around the clock. The bear is responsible for theft, trespassing, and damage to public property. But what do you do when a bear has committed crimes? The scariest part of all was that it wasn't just Hank. They found more than one DNA sample of a bear. There were at least 4 other bears involved. This puts the authorities in a difficult situation. While some think they should set up traps, capture them, and move them to a different habitat. The only problem is that they have now gotten used to just stealing food from humans, so would probably starve out in the wilderness. But the people living here are simply living in fear. They can lock their doors, but Hank simply broke in through a window. Kids are even carrying bear horns when they are playing so they can scare them off. Extinct mouse deer. The Vietnamese mouse deer is also known as a defanged mouse. Deer is a very interesting animal indeed. As you might have guessed, the creature is native to Vietnam and is quite a bit smaller than the average species of deer. The mouse deer's small stature allows it to remain well out of the sight of predators, which is why the animal was thought to be extinct for 3 whole decades. Sightings of mouse deer began to decrease towards the end of the 20th century and eventually dried up entirely after a couple of years without any reported encounters. Although authorities were skeptical at first, they eventually set up a number of trail cams in the area in which the sighting took place. And sure enough, they managed to capture these truly remarkable images of a truly remarkable creature. Along with hundreds of photographs, the trail cams shot videos of a lone mouse and deer searching for food and shelter while anxiously looking for any potential threats. Efforts are now underway to determine just how many mouse deer exist in the wild, as well as to establish what needs to be done to rebuild its population. Hovering lights. The footage was captured by a homeowner who set up a trail cam in their backyard. While they presumably expected to record some squirrels, owls, and other garden visitors, they instead recorded this strange collection of 3 vertically stacked lights, moving slowly across the garden and hovering almost at the same height as the trail cam itself. When the baffled homeowner uploaded this video to YouTube seeking an explanation, UFO buffs were quick to declare that otherworldly visitors were to blame, and we can't say that we disagree with him. Nobody who has seen this footage has been able to offer anything that could be considered a more logical explanation. And now, with the Pentagon's newly identified reports on alien activity in the United States, maybe UFO buffs aren't being so illogical after all. Shedding antlers. Our next topic takes a look away from the supernatural and focuses on how amazing nature itself can be. And again, we're talking about deer. Did you know that deer shed their antlers every year? Well, the trail cam literally caught this thing happening in real time. In fact, during the footage, the deer only has 1 antler left on his head. Then he decides to get rid of the other one. He simply shakes his head and gradually it falls off. The shedding process usually takes about 2 to 3 weeks, so the antlers were gradually falling off anyway, so this deer decided to just end it. The deer's testosterone levels fall. This in turn weakens their bones and blood supply. Eventually, no blood reaches the antlers as they break off. Flying kid. All you need is faith, acceptance as true with, and a bit of pixie dirt. We can most effectively surprise when this child was given some of Tinkerbell's magical dirt though. As a person captured a flying toddler along with his digicum out in the woods, there's no one round to peer except for the child's mother, who's apparently no longer surprised at the levitating infant, but we aren't positive in the event that they recognize they're being watched. This is one of the strangest matters ever stuck on camera, and this forest come across would really have us going for walks for the hills, since it is in such an abandoned vicinity. We find it difficult to see how this may be a hoax. We nonetheless aren't certain what occurred in these spooky pictures though, and while there's a debate over whether or not the kid becomes flying or the mother turned into the use of powers of telekinesis, we cannot say for certain. A levitating child is actually the remaining element you will count on to come across in the middle of the wooded area and that is the remaining component we want our Path digital camera to capture. So that's it. Please like, share, and comment your thoughts below if you like this video. Remember to subscribe to see our next video. Stay safe, and we will be back soon with another video.